Sweet.
Okay, here we go. Thank you so much, you guys, for inviting me to be here. We're going to talk about nonprofit burnout, more importantly, how to avoid it, right? So, how to make a difference without sacrificing our health and happiness, our staff's health and happiness, and all that good stuff. So, started. So, real quick, the key points we're going to cover today and jam pack in here. There's a lot of stuff, so bear with me. I did make a bit of a script so I don't go off too much. And I'm going to share a few stories along the way, a little intro, outro, and as Spencer said, some time at the end if you have any questions. So the key points we're going to talk about are the 3 pitfalls to avoid while doing your heart work. I call them work that we do that makes a difference in the world. Heart work, you're going to hear that word a lot. Understanding the difference between helping versus rescuing and how that can help us out. We're going to talk all things self-care. Of course, that's tied into here. We've got how to foster a culture of trust and support in the workplace for you and your staff, what to do when change isn't happening fast enough. We're going to talk about some strategies, some reminders, and then finally at the wrap up, we're going to talk about how to get re-inspired to keep going when your passion fades or if you've hit burnout, which can happen. So ultimately, what we're going to do is what nonprofit leaders like you can do to keep your employees happy and healthy and inspired to continue making a difference in the world because we need you. So here we go. So a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story, my story, as much as I can. I'm going to try to sum it up. So who I am behind the titles, right? We all have our titles, and then there's the story. So here we go. Here's part of my story. So there have been so many times when I wanted to walk away from my difference-making dreams and just quit because it hurt way too much. So some of you are going to probably relate to this. So I used to spend so many sleepless nights, and if I'm honest, years, thinking about all of the pain in the world. And I would literally, you guys, I would imagine, like, I would go to bed at night and I would imagine people that were hurt or sick or animals that were struggling or just hanging on and needed like a little break, and I'd close my eyes to sleep and I would lay there instead and I would see their faces and just they were in my mind all the time telling me to like do something, please help, and I would cry. I would just like tears would run down my face because I honestly just didn't know what to do and I didn't know how to begin. And that not knowing piece, like having this desire and this part of me that like so badly wanted to help somebody but not knowing what to do was really, really hard. That was my big struggle. So of course, what did I do? I wrote letters to Oprah. So again, this was years ago. And I really didn't have anybody that I knew that felt so deeply like me. I knew people that cared, but the Oprah was my person. So I wrote her, and if any of you used to watch Oprah, I would ask her for a Harpo hookup. I'd say, please, Oprah, just please tell me what I can do. Let me help you, help people. And so then what I ended up doing was I spent a good portion of my life just kind of running around from cause to cause and just doing whatever I could where I saw a need or somebody needed help or support. I would help advocate for them, or maybe I'd help raise funds or spread the word or just cheer them on. So I just kind of was zipping around everywhere. And I became what I call like the rescue girl. And what's wrong with that is that there were just way too many causes that needed support and only one me. So I felt like I just couldn't help fast enough, like just so no matter what I did, there was always so much more work to be done. So I wouldn't change a thing, but as some of you might have guessed, over time, I started to feel run down. I was exhausted, and honestly, I felt really, really hopeless. There was definitely no light at the end of my tunnel. So I decided that the best way I could make a difference was to focus my energy on give back work that I was most passionate about at the time. So for me, that meant advocating for foster youth and helping rescue animals. And then also I would help raise money and put in my time and excuse me, support to causes that spoke to me, like friends or family or things that were going on. So in 2006, I started to find out more about the foster care system, which eventually led me to creating an empowerment retreat. So it was called Remix, and it was a creative arts and wilderness retreat. I lived in Truckee, California at the time, and so it really fit in with our community, and I really wanted to help the foster kids in the foster care system. So here's the catch. So I had no degree in this area. My degree is in teaching. I was an elementary school teacher. I had no experience, and I honestly had zero idea of what I was doing. So, but I think in hindsight, it was a really good thing I didn't, because sometimes when you know everything about something, then your obstacles get in all the way. It's too many steps, you get overwhelmed. So I didn't know anything. I knew it was going to be a lot of work. But what I did have, which I think is so key and people forget to talk about so much, and I imagine most of you have right here, as I had a lot of heart, I had tons of passion, and I had patience, and I had determination. And I was so determined to make this happen. And I knew then with that determination, heart, and passion, I was going to figure it out. So in 2010, we launched a retreat, and it was seriously one of the most amazing days. So here's some of the kids. We did some creative arts retreats. It was for 4 nights, rafting and creative arts and connecting and getting outside, and it was just incredible. And it was totally worth 5 years of my life planning and prepping and all that jazz. So as exciting as it was, I'd also been running myself down and was on the edge of burnout because I was playing all the roles. So I was a stay-at-home / working / volunteering mom. I had a little boy. We had a boy. He was about 5. I think he's like 3 in this picture. There's a couple of our rescue dogs, other dogs. I had 3 dogs. And then I was the founder. And if any of you are founders or in the beginning of the startup stage, you know, for me, I was everything. So I was the director, the creator, the grant writer, the fundraiser, everything that went into it, I did, volunteering. And then eventually when I raised some money and raised some funds, I could hire out a few people, starting with my accountant. That was one job I definitely did not want to have my hands in. So you name it, I did it, right? And I was constantly torn. Again, I felt guilty all the time when I was working. I wasn't with my son or present. I didn't feel present. I think that's what it was. I was always around these arenas, but not always aware, like physically, mentally, where I was and where I wanted to be. So what did I do? I went out and I got a tattoo. So for me, I chose the word matter. We hear this word a lot now, like make it matter, make it happen. And my tagline on my website is actually make it matter. But back then, this was like 15, more than that, years ago. People would make, they'd be like, matter, what does that mean? Is that gray matter? Does it matter? And what it was for me was matter. It was like my personal heart reason, my what I want to be in the world. I want to show up in the world, and I want to matter with my work that I do. And I want also the people that I'm with to know that they matter. And then I did it during this time because I had it tattooed on my wrist facing me, which my tattoo artist told me promptly that it was backwards. But I did it for myself so I could see it. So every time I looked down at my wrist, I'd see the word matter. And so if I was playing with my son, digging in the dirt, doing whatever we did, I knew to look down and say, Gia, be here now with Tobin. Okay, this is what you're doing. Let your nonprofit work, brain, take a pause, right? And then when I was doing my nonprofit work, and I would feel guilty or have moments of mommy guilt, or I needed to stay up super late or get up super early, and I couldn't be as present as I'd love to with my son, I would say, just matter, do this because you're doing this for foster youth right now, and this is where you need to be. So that's my little tattoo story. You don't need to run out and get one, but I'm just sharing that with you for how I helped myself to stay present and what it really means, what's true to me in my heart. So eventually what I did was I began to help other people. This was many years later, to pinpoint their cause. That's what I do now, and to get started with what I call your heart work. So people who also want to make a difference in the world in their own way, but skip the part about burnout and struggle. So people like you, basically, and your staff. So I'm happy to say I no longer feel like the solo rescue girl because I don't have to keep moving forward on my own. I learned that we can all do this together, and I want you guys to know that. And then that way we can actually collectively make a huge impact world, and that feels really amazing. So let's get started. All right, what makes leadership in nonprofits unique? Here we go. So while nonprofit employees are often energetic, optimistic, and full of passion when they start working for an organization they love, it's likely that the excessive workload and expectation to do more with less and intense emotional labor will burn them out. Does that sound familiar? You guys know this, right? Because you get mission-driven individuals, and then the emotional toll of the work being done, everything can always feel so urgent and important. There's more to do. We got to go, go, go. Right? And then there's the lack of resources, especially in the beginning, and this expectation that we can put on ourselves with, we have to do more with the little that we have, and we can get into that mindset like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, this is so awful, we have it such a bad time, we're a nonprofit, and right? We want to get rid of that feeling. So unfortunately, sacrificing one's health in service of others is a common narrative, as we know. And I'm guessing you're here because, like me, we want to do what we can to change that. Let's change that. All right, 3, excuse me, I have allergies, so I'm gonna apologize. I'm gonna take a drink of my water really quick. Okay, here we go. 3 key pitfalls to avoid and to be aware of. Number 1, burnout, right? We're gonna talk about how to say no to burnout. Number 2, compassion exhaustion, or what people nonprofit world call compassion fatigue. Number 3, not enough time, right? We're gonna talk about how to own the clock and take back your time. So beware of pitfall number 1, burnout, the dreaded B word. So in a nutshell, what burnout is what happens when you haven't done a great job of getting the help you need or taking care of yourself along the way, right? We all know burnout. We probably had it at some point in our lives. And the key is to avoid burnout for you and for your staff and your team is one of the first steps is to understand and help them understand, and this really helped me, was knowing the difference between helping versus rescuing. So to help people, definition is the action of helping someone is to do something to assist them, right? You can teach, you can advocate, empower, speak up, lend a hand. You guys can read these. And examples of helpers are teachers and mentors and coaches and tutors, therapists. Those are all people who are in helping professions that take on the helper role. To rescue is to save someone from a different, dangerous or distressing situation, right? Rescuing is very different than saving. So those are our disaster aid relief workers, rescue workers, ER docs, nurses, firefighters, etc. So if you're starting to feel drained or uninspired, or you notice someone in your community or team that is acting like they're on the verge of burnout, we're going to talk to about those signs in a minute. You just take notice, right? And then check in with yourself and say, hey, wait a minute. Okay, I'm feeling a little crazy. I'm feeling a little frenzied. What's happening here? Am I stepping into the helper role, or have I put on my cape and I think I'm in rescue mode, right? And unless your job is actually to rescue people, that's not where we want to be. So what you can do then is start to flip your mindset. This is how you can get yourself back. So here's a little slide about, quick ways. Instead of enabling, I can assist. Instead of preaching, I can advocate for someone. Instead of lecturing, I can listen. Instead of telling someone, I can ask them questions, which is great. Instead of doing it for them, which we're all really good doers, right? You can actually pitch in. We can refer them out, right? Or you empower them. Isn't that what we want to do? We want to empower people to help themselves. Because wouldn't it be great if all of us didn't need to do the work that we're doing, that everyone we're helping actually was able to help themselves, and we could help facilitate that. So once you start to shift this thinking, your actions actually will soon follow, and you'll eventually start to feel like your energy is coming back, your passion will come back, and you'll be able to make an even bigger impact with your nonprofit work, which is what we're here to do. Pitfall number 2 to be aware of, compassion exhaustion. So while burnout happens from running around, from your daily stress, it wears us down, right? Compassion exhaustion is when your deep sympathy for another who is struggling, and then your desire to do something to alleviate it takes over, and you start to feel run down. And it becomes a problem when we think, like I did, you heard in my story, that no matter what we do, it's never enough, right? So we have to check ourselves and keep each other and our community and friends, and surround yourself with people that can check in with you if you're starting to feel like you're veering this way. Compassion exhaustion also happens, is more connected with trauma. So here's a few signs and symptoms to keep an eye out for so you can help yourself and your team to avoid and prevent burnout and compassion fatigue. So signs on the left here, a lot of this stuff we know, but it's good to be reminded of, right? It's when you're emotional, mental, physical exhaustion, right? That's you're on the verge of burning out. You might start isolating yourself. There's depersonalization of things. You can have a reduced sense of accomplishment or meaning at your work, right? You're starting to burn out. You're like, oh, I just kind of don't care anymore. And then it can turn into, you're not sleeping. These are some of the signs. Your emotional intensity increases. You can't think as good. Your cognitive ability decreases. And then that can lead to things like depression, PTSD, loss of self-worth, and your overall well-being actually starts to decline. So the difference between the two, this was helpful information I thought was interesting, was that compassion fatigue has a more rapid onset. Like I said, a lot of times it's trauma-induced, but it has a faster recovery time, and it's less severe if it's recognized and managed early. So really important, if you see something happen, or if something is, you're around a traumatic situation, or you notice that you're someone on your team is, to check in with them quickly and help people get the help that they need. Whereas burnout is something that happens over time, more gradually. So here's a few ways on how to help. So find someone to talk to. This is super important. It is not weak. We need to be able to talk to people and share with what we're going through. This is something you can facilitate as a leader and emphasize over and over and over. Taking care of ourselves. We've got to exercise and eat well, as we know these things, but even more so if you feel yourself being run down. Try to get sleep, doing things to take your mind off. We're going to talk a lot about self-care tips in a minute. Taking time to identify what's important to you. I call that your heart reason. Go back to what it is. Why are you here? What else is important to you outside your work? What do you like to do? Again, self-care tips are going to come in. That'll help us out. And understand that what you're feeling is normal. Okay, this is huge. As a leader, you can keep an eye out and notice the signs for your team. Step in as needed. You can say things like, you seem kind of run down and tired lately. Are you feeling okay? How can I help you? How can I help you help you? Right? And then remind them again, it's okay to not feel okay all the time. We need to remember that. So the last pitfall number 3, I don't have enough time. All right. This is one of my pet peeves. I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy when I hear people say this, but I had to learn this because I was awful. I used to say this. So this is all about learning to say no. No is not a bad thing to say to people. Learning how to prioritize your time and how to own the clock. So here's the deal. We all have the same number of hours in a day, and people all over the world do amazing things with their time that they've got, right? So how you spend your time, get this, it's a choice. It's totally up to you, and you need to take control of it, okay? So here we go. Here's the first one. Learn to say no. Let's try it. Okay, this might seem really silly, but here you go. I tried to come up with some things you could say. No, but thank you so much for thinking of me. See, that's not even rude, right? No, thank you. I'm interested. No, thank you. I'm not interested, but I know someone who might be, and I'm happy to connect you. See, there's a no with a follow-up that makes that person that asked you to do something feel fine for asking you, right? No big deal. And how about this one? I'm going to say no for now. And if things change for me later, then I'll reach back out. Because sometimes you may be interested in doing something or helping or pitching in or whatever it is you're being asked to do, but you just don't have time. So you can let them know that and say, thank you so much for this opportunity. See, not so hard, is it? Love this quote, you guys. Seth Godin. You don't need more time in your day. You need to decide. So much yes to that, right? So you have to make time for the stuff that matters. Okay, you guys, it's your time. Nothing's forcing you. These are decisions, okay? Remember, there's always something, this is good to know, always something you can change, move, or shimmy around that frees up your schedule for something that you love, value, or want to do more of. Okay, promise, you guys, you've got this. All right, life balance. Oh my goodness. Did any of you guys like me used to look at these pie charts and think of this and go, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Life balance, right? It used to drive me nuts. I used to think, because I used to think that life balance meant having equal time. Like, wouldn't this be fabulous to have this chart, an equal amount of time for everything that was important to you in every single day, right? And then you're like, life balance isn't amazing. And then, you know, you could do all those things and you could fit it all in. But then if not, like my struggle for me was, and where we get frustrated as we say, oh my gosh, I don't have any life balance. I can't fit it in. I'm exhausted. And then you start to wonder, what is wrong with me? So do you guys ever feel like that? So for me, the struggle finally stopped when I figured out that while having a life balance is possible, it doesn't have to look the way we think it does and the way we think it should. We need to reframe this. So the key, it's all about playing a game of give and take. Kind of what I was explaining earlier with my tattoo. So because you can maintain balance in your life, but what it means is you're maintaining balance comes from being present with all of these, just not all of them at the same time. Okay, that's the game changer. You can be, he'll read it again, because maintaining balance comes from being present with all of them, all the things that are important to you, just not all at the same time. So again, choose what you decide to do with your time. Sometimes you're going to have a huge, event coming up, or your programs are launching, and for a month you are jamming, and you are focused, and you're going to have 80% of your time as going to your work, right? And you got to scrunch in to make sure you get some self-care stuff in there. And then once that's done, you back it off a bit, and you go, okay, we made it through that hump. I'm going to back off my work pie, a little piece of the pie, and now I'm going to focus back on these other things that I've put on the side. So shimmying around, again, this is up to you, but reframe your brain thinking that something's wrong with you if you can't do all this stuff that's important to you at the same time. Again, choose what to do with your time. Once you decide where to spend it, be where you're at. Go for presence over balance every time, because that perfect like balance thing, yeah, it doesn't exist. So give yourself a break and stop trying to chase after it. Okay, and then I have to bring up that never ending to-do list, right? Okay, so here's the deal. You're not supposed to get the stuff done on your list. Okay, we've got to understand this. That to-do list is there. There's tasks. There's always more tasks to do. It's just reminders for you. So it's never going to get done. All right, you guys? It's not supposed to. You're welcome. All right, love this. Here we go. Be there for others, but never leave yourself behind. This is what our work is all about, right? So, do you really want to know how to take care of yourself like taking care of others without the burnout and struggle? All right, if you were live, I'd say, give me a heck yeah. Now you're just hearing me talk to myself. I'm pretending you're all yelling, heck yeah, in the background. So what it's all about is preventing it from happening in the first place. That's our goal, okay? So how do we do that? We take care of ourselves as we go. I call it the TLC. It's all about the TLC. So well-being and self-care in the nonprofit world for difference makers is not optional, you guys. This is a must. This is not something fluff. This is not something push over. It's how we get the work, good work that we're doing in the world done. You have to take care of you before you can help anyone else. I know we know it, but you've got to put some of these self-care practices into your day and your week in your office. So here's how. First thing is to pay attention to your body signals, right? Remember we talked about some of this. If you start to feel tension or stress or fatigue or you're getting edginess, just notice how your body's feeling, because your body, that's your way of telling yourself what's going on in your head. And believe it or not, those signals, those feelings are there to help you. And they're like a little warning sign, okay, you need some more self-care. So next time you're feeling a little run down or you need some refresh or whatever, try some of these tips. First one I call push pause. So I so used to wish I had a pause button. Do you guys ever wish you had one? Like a magic button you can just push to savor the moment or catch a break, and then you wouldn't miss out on anything, right? Wouldn't that be amazing? So we don't have one of those, so we have to make them for ourselves. So you got to create your push pause. Then after we push our pause button, we can trust that after our break, everything is still going to be there waiting for us, right? We're not ignoring what we want or need to do. We're not forgetting or pretending not to care. We're just taking a momentary breather for yourself. So one of my favorite ways is the shower. I love to take a shower. I feel refreshed. I get inspired. Some of my best ideas come to me there. So think about you. What's your pause? What could it be? What do you like to do? And today's a great day to make one. Next thing, self-care tip is to let it out. By that, I mean anything, everything you're holding in, we got to let it out. Anything you bottled up, shoved down, or tabled, so important. Like they say, the inhale, the exhale, this is the exhale. So our feelings, our emotions, they're sneaky little buggers. So if we're sure we can't keep them tucked in, okay? They don't like to be tucked in because they're eventually going to find their way out. And if you don't let them out, it can turn into pain and stress and even disease. So this is up to us. We can do this. And by that, let it out, I mean, literally cry, yell, scream, have a tantrum, whatever you need to do for you, give it a go. I promise you will eventually feel better. Number 2, move your booty. All right. Let's see here. That one's pretty self-explanatory. It's all about getting those toxins out, get your blood flowing, get that sweat going, right? Whatever you like to do, this is not like, oh, exercise if you're not an exerciser. It's all about walking, jogging, swimming, hit the gym, shoot some hoops, hula hoop, skate, surf, whatever. My favorite, I love to put on my music. I love music, dancing, whatever gets your body in gear and moving and blood flowing, doesn't matter what it is. So super key though, because taking a break from our screens, getting away from the office, or heading out of your house, it shifts our mind and it helps us get inspired and refocused. So it's a great way and remedy to refresh, release, so you can go back and get in the groove. All right, people, love you first. Again, here we go. We know this, right? So in order to help others, you have to love yourself first. Super simple, true, yet not always easy to do. So we have to fuel ourselves up because no one else, honestly, is going to do it for us, no matter how badly we might want them to. So there's no need to wait till we're running on empty. Again, this is important. Here's the key. Do this thing right now, you guys. Schedule it in. Put it on your calendar. 10 a.m. Tuesday morning, self-care time. Pick something you're going to do. It's refuel time. It's time for you. It's me time, and make it happen. Set 15 minutes aside. We make time for so many things. You've got to make time for yourself. Pick one of these things we talked about or your favorite self-care routine and schedule it in. Last tip is celebrate along the way. Woohoo! All right. All right. So while we are slowly inching towards our goals, it's so easy to wonder if we've even made a dent, right? You guys feel me? So that's why it's super important to acknowledge and celebrate our wins along the way. So this is all about thinking about what progress you've made so far. What did you check off your difference-making to-do list, right? So then what I want you to do is take a moment every so often and celebrate. So this doesn't have to be a full-on party, people. You can literally do a little dance jump in the air, shout, heck yeah, check out what I just did. Look what I just checked off my list. I give myself gold stars sometimes, put them up on my little chart. I love that kind of stuff, or shout a woohoo, I'm so proud of me. We're not used to this, but it's so important to acknowledge the stuff we do daily, weekly, whenever. And it keeps us going, right? It gets your energy going. And it's the part of the self-care world where we can just skip it. We're so busy like, woo, check that off the list. Okay, we had a great event last night. Boom, we're done. Moving on. What's next? Right? And so not just the big wins, little stuff along the way. All right. So here we go. I was like, oh, that's all of them. So before we move on, here's a few ways we can integrate this into your workplace. There's a couple things I thought of. You could integrate fresh air breaks for your team, maybe a little 15 minutes, a couple times a day. Say everybody fresh air break, or make sure you schedule them in, right? Little walks around the block. You can bring hacky sacks to work, right? Pop them around the office. Mini dance parties. Set your alarms, 12 o'clock, 15 minutes, turn on some music, get everyone jumping around, right? Have some fun. People can bring books to work, have a little shared library. Adult coloring books are all the rage. They're super fun, gets your right brain going, your left brain turning off. Some healthy snacks. You can create a community corner, fun little hangout spot, put up a fun quote or two. Everyone can pitch in, bring in some happy plants. Those little air plants, they're like 50 cents, sprinkle some around, bring some green in. It's good for us, bring nature inside. So these are some ideas. Great way you can chat with your team and see what ideas they have, and do it, make it happen. All right, here we go, action. I love this little sticky. Grab a sticky, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to use, your phone, and write down, I am taking care of myself today by. This would be cool, actually. I'm just thinking you could print that up and put that in your office, right? So whatever it is you're going to do, I'm going to drink green juice. I'm going to take a 10-minute stretch break, or I'm just going to push pause. Write it down, do it. Slap it up somewhere so you remind yourself you're going to do that before you go to bed today. All right, switching gears. Effective leadership strategies. Here we go. Great quote, Nelson Mandela, one of my faves. Lead from the back and let others believe they are in front. How to foster a culture of trust in the workplace. Hi, neighbor. Who doesn't love Mr. Rogers? Isn't that so fun? So I love thinking about this. To me is all about community, right? How do you create community? And I think of community as hoods, like neighborhoods, sisterhoods, brotherhoods, right? There's such a good vibe with that. So fostering a culture of trust in the workplace, like I said, it's creating a community, a culture where people feel like you're all a part of it, right? So I came up with a few simple, but I think super effective strategies that you as a leader, a nonprofit leader, can do starting right now. Number one, super easy, super straightforward. We all know it, walk the talk. Lead by example. Do what you say you're gonna do. And if plans change, no worries, no problem. You're human, we get it. We want you to be human and relatable. Just keep your staff in the loop if it's something that affects them. And remember, we are watching you. Okay, so when you walk your talk, I'm also saying self-care. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you being the rescuer, or are you in the helper role? Don't forget to model self-care, because the culture is created from the top down. Number two, build relationships. Here's how. One way you can be approachable. And by that, take an interest in the team, right? As a leader, when you're approachable, which comes across as actually friendly and welcoming, people that are approachable, you invite in communication and connection with your staff. So because we connect with people we can relate to, and that show an interest in who we are, right? So we like people that make us feel like they see us and that we can walk up to them, right? They're open. And then what happens when you're approachable, you're an approachable person, you inspire us. And when we're inspired, we will listen more to what you have to say. Number 3, ask questions and invite conversations so you guys can discuss problems, brainstorm solutions, set goals together, anticipate the roadblocks together, right? This is all about community. And then also, when you're asking questions and inviting conversations, again, this is the helper role. You're not rescuing, you're not doing it for them. You check in to see how people are doing along the way, right? That gives you time to check in and make sure you're keeping the stress and burnout away. This is where I can picture a team meeting. You get together and you say, how could we solve this? Who's got a suggestion? All ideas are welcome here. This is where you drop the job titles. It doesn't matter if, the right brain people that do the creative work in your office might have a strategy suggestion, right? So we often get stuck in the details of what our duties and tasks are, and we put people in those little positions when all of us also have another side to us. So I love this whole inviting conversation, sitting down around a table and saying, how can we do this? Throw it all out there, right? I don't care what your job is in the office. I want to know if you've got a way we can make this better or figure it out. All ideas are welcome. And then let people know that their voice matters, that you care, that you see them, and then really listen. And here's why. Because people feel better and are more productive when they know what they're trying to accomplish and that their opinion matters. And especially when they feel like their leader understands them. And that is you, my friend. All right, number 4, say thank you. So you guys are probably really amazing at this, but don't forget to thank your staff. Here's some ways. Thank you so much. We couldn't have done that without your help training our volunteers last night. That was amazing. Thank you for being a part of our team. Without your grant proposal, this would not have happened. I just want to let you know, I appreciate you. Look at what we did together. I can't thank you all enough. Easy, you guys. Use those thank yous. You can never overdo it. Gratitude, appreciation, acknowledgement, it goes such a long way. People want to feel valued, and a person who feels appreciated and valued will always do more than what's expected. How awesome is that? And I threw in a bonus. Okay, you guys, this is something I want to change, is I think nonprofit work doesn't have to be all heavy and hard, because our works, they can be, right? And so don't forget to have some fun. All right. Why do we care so much? Why is this so important? And how the heck do we keep going? Well, world-class surfer Kelly Slater said this, and I couldn't agree more. Motivation is from our head, but inspiration is from our hearts. So how do you get re-inspired when your passion is fading and your fire is dimly lit? I literally could do a whole talk on this. So we're going to just go through some key points. So here we go. So when your passion is fading and if you're starting to feel run down, you've got to know why the work that you're doing is important to you. And I call that your heart reason. Okay, you got to know your heart reason, and that's just your deeper reason for doing what you do. So here's some questions. This is a great exercise for you, for your staff to do. I've done this in workshops before with a startup nonprofit. So it's deeper than this, but this is the nutshell version. Why are you here? Okay, you ask the question why like 5 times. I didn't put it up here 5 times, but that's what you do. Why have you gotten excited about this cause or issue or organization? Like, what brought you in the door to start this work? And then you write out your answer. Why is it important to you? What inspired you to get started? And then again, why? And then again, you ask yourself, no, really, why am I really here? And when you get to that last answer, if you've got goosebumps, you feel something, you're on it, you've hit it. If not, dig it deeper and try one more time. I'm going to give you an example. So why are you here? Example, I want to start a nonprofit to help families who've lost a loved one to addiction. Why? Because I want to work for myself. Okay, might be true, but what's the deeper reason? Okay, you want to work for yourself. Awesome. So why again? Why are you here? I want to give back. Common answer. Again, true, but what is deeper than that? Give back, right? So why again? Why are you really here? Why is this so important to you? So other families going through the same thing I did will have resources and support that I never got. Okay, bullseye. Do you feel the difference, you guys? That's what you want to get to, because our heart reasons make us feel something. They're tied to our feelings. So, and here's why you want to know your heart reason, and how I don't know how you can do this kind of work without tapping back into it and not depleting yourself. It's because your heart reason is where your confidence and your courage live, right? You can go do things and stand up on stage or go talk to somebody you don't know and pitch like crazy because your heart reason, when it matters to you, right? Then you'll get that confidence and that courage. It's your main purpose for doing what you do. And then that drives you, right? That drives you. That's where your driver comes from. It's the fuel. It's your fuel for the good work that you're doing or are about to begin. So anytime you need a little reminder, you just go back to the heart reason and find other people, seek out other people that are doing amazing work in the world like you, so you can keep reminding each other. How cute is this illustration? I love this guy. He's on Instagram, you guys. He does this fun stuff, Andy J Pizza. So let your heart lead the way. How cute is that? And I love rescue dogs, so it's perfect. So what to do when you get impatient that change isn't happening fast enough? All right, got a story for you. We're getting close to the end here. So back when I lived in Truckee, California, I was a volunteer for the Humane Society. As a family, we fostered and adopted dogs, and I was on the board of directors for a few years. As a nonprofit, we had so much heart, a clear vision, dedication, and we were in an amazing, if you know Truckee, it's an amazing animal-loving town. But we were maxed out on space, and we needed a new shelter. So we did what nonprofits do. We created a budget, we drew up plans, we started looking for land, and we formed a connection with the Animal Services Department. Then we had to do all those things. We had to raise the money, spread the word, hold advocacy events, small events, PR, all those things, and we just kept moving towards our bigger goal. This was like way out. This is the vision, right? Your bigger vision. And we just did one little baby step at a time. My personal mantra at the time was, one day we will have an amazing shelter. This will be all worth it. We must keep going, I tell myself. Remember, this was the day, this was a while ago, days before crowdfunding. So things were a little bit different, right? And social media wasn't what it is. And so it was just a lot of word of mouth, a lot of hitting the pavement. So many years later, my family and I moved to San Francisco. A friend called me and said, Gia, oh my gosh, the shelter is done. You've got to see it. So I couldn't believe it come to life. I had to see it with my own eyes. The next holiday, we ran up there and we drove straight to the shelter. So as we approached the building, it literally took my breath away. I couldn't believe it was real, because here I was almost 13 years later after I'd started volunteering for the Humane Society, and I was about to walk into this gorgeous, gorgeous shelter. It honestly, as cheesy as this sounds, it felt like I was walking into a piece of my heart, and your heart reasons. I was like, oh my gosh, this is real, it's happening. We walked in the front door there to our left, and this woman greeted us and said, do you want a tour? And we're like, heck yeah, we want a tour. I was there with my son who knew all about this and had been with these, we've had a couple dogs we'd adopted from there, and it was so important to us and our family. And so we walked in, we said hi to the cats, and then we were off to see the dogs. And rescue dogs are my absolute, they have my heart. So I caught sight of this dog, Ralphie, on their Facebook page prior, and I was so drawn to him because he reminded me of a dog we previously lost to cancer, Timber, and he was my boy. And so Ralphie reminded me of him, and I was like, oh my gosh, as we went through the door, it hit me. I wonder if he's here. And what do you know? We walked through the door, and off to my left, there's Ralphie. I asked the girl if we could go in and meet him. So she opened the door, and he immediately stood up and started wagging his tail. He was so cute while we talked to him. My heart was melting. Did my best not to cry. Ralphie wiggled around and he held a ball in his mouth, making his fun little talking noises to us. He rubbed up against our legs and leaned in, giving us the please pet me swoop by walk, right? If you guys have dogs, you know what I'm talking about. Time stopped. I heard nothing our guide was saying, and I froze in this moment because it hit me. This is what patience leads to. This is what fighting for something you believe in. See, it chokes makes me choke up. Feels like. This is what happens when when the big-hearted people work together. Excuse me. This is what leaving a legacy can look like, and this is why we must keep going. There's Ralphie. Oh my gosh, isn't he so cute with his ball? I can't believe I found that photo. And that's my son Tobin years ago. So if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We are here supporting each other. Nobody has to do this work alone. So here's the truth. We may never know the real impact that we're creating, but we don't stop. We have to believe that what we are doing and how we're choosing to be in the world is making a difference. It is, you guys. Believe that, know that. And when we keep showing up and leading and putting hearts to work one step at a time while taking care of ourselves and our team along the way, it's going to happen, right? Remember, you're not alone. We're all working here together. And sometimes big things take time. Thank you so much for being here. It's been an honor to share with you today and speak with you. I wish we could talk. It's really strange for me to talk for myself. Um, but I am so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm so grateful for you and the work that you're doing or about to do, making a difference in your communities or in the world. So thank you so much. There's our newest rescue guy, although he's 7 now. That's Blaze, and he wants to know if you have any questions. Spencer, I'm ready.
Yeah, that's a very cute way to ask for questions. Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm looking in the question box now, and I don't see any, but I have one.
Yes.
You were talking a bit in the middle of your presentation about work-life balance, and I think that's something that not only I think Americans struggle with generally.
Yes.
It seems like America has a different idea of what that means or what that's supposed to look like, and
Exactly.
it's even more complicated when you're starting a passion project and trying to create change, and it's the blending of your work and your personal life, and there are all these pressures outside of the pressures that are already on you for being, I don't know. I've just been thinking about that a lot,
Yes.
and I was wondering what your thoughts were on it.
Well, that's what I was trying to say. I think we have to reframe our thinking. I think it's a huge problem. And yeah, I mean, it's all about, I don't know if that pie chart made sense to you, but the struggle comes from when we believe this narrative that life balance means you have the perfect amount of time all the time for all the things that are important to you. And it's just not possible. Right. And so that's where we have to shift our thinking. It's our job. And like for me, I want to start talking about it and having conversations like this about, why do we believe it has to be a certain way? And then when we can't fit that, because it's literally impossible, we beat ourselves up. So it literally does nothing to think of life balance as always having the perfect amount of time to do everything that's important to us all the time. So it's just shifting and reframing that thinking to, like I said, it's sometimes, something's going to take 80% of your time while the other things have to wait while you push through a deadline or something like me. I literally have shut down for the last week getting ready for this talk. And so I let my family know my energy and time is going to this. I have 10% for that and 90% for this. And then as soon as this is done, I'm like, I am going and getting a massage, right? I've got to get that self-care because I haven't got as much sleep and done the things I need to do for myself. So I got to shift. Okay, now it's self-care time. I have a few days of recoup time, and then I can go back to kind of a more normal flow of like a little bit more work, put in my exercise, family time. And so it's just kind of like molding it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's a really smart way to think about it. And it's not something that, we're going to solve overnight. It's just kind of going to
Sure.
it's going to start as like a conversation like this, and it's going to slowly, hopefully start to become, manifested in different ways in our industry and in every industry, ideally.
For sure. Yeah. And it's really telling yourself, it's that thinking of, well, if I don't do this, then I'm ignoring or these other things are not important to me. Right. And
Yeah.
that kind of thinking is what causes all the anxiety and stress. Right. So if we're thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm getting a massage right now, but really I shouldn't be here. There's no point in the massage. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah. So you've got to reframe that thinking like, no, this is getting the priority now. Right. And then when I get back, I'm going to have more energy actually, because I did take the time for that to go back and then I can focus because I'm more present or I got a fresh air, break and walked around the block. Right. It doesn't mean you don't care about the other things.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Oh, we got a question.
Okay.
Julie asks, how do we make sure when we reach out to others that we're getting the help we need versus just a venting session?
Good question versus a venting session. Yeah. Let's see. How can I ask that? Well, you can notice in yourself, am I just venting? Or are you looking for help? Right. And so if you catch yourself talking to someone, maybe a coworker, whatever, and we like to, when we're in the venting mode, we like to go find people that feel the way we do and talk about how bad things suck. Right. So you're like, oh my gosh, this project, this deadline, and you go find 3 other people that are agree with you and say, oh yes, it's horrible, awful, right? Or just venting, which you'll know you're venting when you walk away and you don't feel any better, right? In the moment you think you do because you're finding common ground. So to check yourself and notice like, okay, I'm venting, or you can even tell somebody like, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling stressed, whatever. I might need to vent for a few seconds, then I want you to cut me off and then help me figure out how to move past it.
Awesome.
Does that make sense to you? I can't talk to her.
I know
I can ask her, Julie, does that
like,
make sense? I hope
yeah.
that was helpful.
No, I think that's really helpful. Because I mean, there's nothing wrong with venting, but at some point you need to, be tactical about how you're going to deal with these things. So yeah,
and you can have venting sessions. That's what I was saying. If it's a venting session, vent. But if her question was around how, if you want to get help, then you make sure that, okay, I'm going to vent for, 3 minutes, and then I want you to help me figure out how to get past it, how to get unstuck, right? Venting's not going to help create that.
Any other questions, folks? Take them to the question section of your control panel. We've written some stuff at Nonprofit Hub on the blog about how nonprofits that employ more than 5 people tend to have a pretty high turnover rate, and how burnout might have something to do with that.
Yep.
I don't know if you've confronted any of those problems with your journey, but it's something that we're trying to get to the bottom of too, because it seems like there's a much higher turnover rate in small to mid-sized nonprofits than their for-profit counterparts. Which there are a lot of underlying reasons for that, but I do think burnout and
it's that whole common narrative in the beginning about overworked, understaffed, too many things to do, frenzy, go till we crash, and then people say later, it's too much. I'm not surprised. It is common, especially when you don't have as many people doing the work. I know that world very well. So yeah, again, it's tying in everything we talked about, integrating and noticing. Let number one, make it a goal of your organization that this isn't going to be us, right? I think it's not something to just go, it's an expectation. I think right now in the nonprofit world, it's an expectation. If you, like you just said, people typically, there's this, you didn't say it as an expectation, but you said statistically, but there's kind of this expectation, if you have a small group or if you're a startup, you are going to burn out. And so setting an expectation that we don't want that to be us, and you need to set systems in place where you have check-ins, where you make sure everyone's doing okay, where I thought of as making this like putting a little suggestion box like you had in kindergarten. I said I was a teacher, and you put the little slips and people could throw in ideas or like even their feelings, like I'm feeling really run down, what can we do, or whatever, where people can just drop in ideas and keep it open and moving and talked about all the time, not just twice a year we have a self-care workshop, right? You really have to integrate these as daily practices and make it a top priority. Like the top priority really needs to be self-care, so we can keep going and we don't lose people, because you create more work for yourself, right? When there's turnover, then you got a new person and you start all over. You want to really retain these people, because most people that enter the door, they're there because they have the heart reason, right? They want the job and they're like, I'm driven, I'm motivated about this cause or issue. And so you don't want to lose them. So it's really just integrating it in more as a daily and creating the expectation that this isn't going to be our org. We're going to make it a high priority. Let's do it.
Right. It all starts with culture, and you got to get that going early.
Exactly. And even if you are in the rut now, you can turn it around. Say, hey, I just realized here's something we're going to do different. Let's do it. We're going to integrate this more.
Another question, Veronica asks, how do you say no to projects? I'm a marketing coordinator in my workplace, and one of the things my boss is encouraging me of is to say no to things that are not part of the priority she wants me to take on. However, other requests are part of my role, just not high priority to my boss, and they still need to be done.
They still need to be done. So her question is, what's the first question? How do I say no to?
Yeah, how do you say no to projects?
Say no to her boss?
Based on, the priorities of her boss versus what she sees her duties for her role.
Yeah, that's good. That's probably really common. Again, you have to take care of you. What did you say her name was? I'm sorry, Veronica?
Veronica, yeah.
Veronica, yeah, Veronica, you have to take care of you first. And I know it's your job to get those things done, but only you know how much time things are going to take. So you're going to have to make your priority list. And of course, you're going to want to weigh, or I can tell from your question that you feel like you need to weigh what your boss wants done as more important. So that could involve, and I would highly recommend, um, telling your boss, kind of like, in a tactful way, here's the things I've got on my list that are under my job description that are important that we need to do as an organization, and here's what you would like me to get done, and I'm happy to do. Maybe you can help me prioritize this list. Maybe ask your boss, can you help me help you? So it might be a way to do it so it's not just on you and you don't feel scrambled and run yourself down. And you can even frame it as that as well. I don't want to burn myself out. This is more than I can do in a day. This is more than I can do in a week. And I'd love your help in, how to prioritize what's most important and squeeze these in. So then it's not on you.
Awesome. I think that's great advice. Are there other questions from folks? Looks like we have still a couple dozen attendees.
Okay.
So long for the
Don't
ride.
be shy.
Do you have questions?
Feel free to ask what's on your mind.
Yeah, while those questions do or don't come in, I guess one of the other reasons why I think the turnover rate is so high in nonprofits is because a lot of people don't think that they can build a career out of nonprofit work, which is also something that we're trying to dispel here.
Yep.
I don't know if you have thoughts on that or not.
I hear you. I know the myth. I am not the best person because I never got paid. So I didn't build a career for myself in the nonprofit world. I donated my time. So that is not the best question for me. I could circle around and do some research and dig in. That's a great question, something I should find out more about. But I do know it's possible. There's a lot. I mean, I live in San Francisco. There are amazing 5 million nonprofits here, and people make amazing money and have great jobs and fulfilling jobs. So it's totally possible. Total myth. You can build a career in the nonprofit world. So
shout it from the rooftops. Yes, you can.
You can. Yeah, and again,
it's
the culture, right? I imagine your workplace, like you said, you're changing, you want to change that. So it's the culture is created. So when you go work for a nonprofit like yours that says, yes, you can have a career, we're an amazing company to work for, and we're going to help you make a living at this, awesome. Totally possible. You do not have to be the starving, see, I burned myself out. You do not want to model after me.
Okay, it doesn't look like we have any more questions, so that might be it. Thank you so much, Gia, for that presentation. Oh, and you got your info up there too. Perfect.
I do. I have my info. So yeah, I was going to say if questions come later or people are watching the replay, please, I am super approachable. I want to connect with you. That's why I'm here, is to be helpful and supportive. So please reach out. I've got my email up there. It's just giaduke.com. My stuff is really easy everywhere. It's just my name. I have on my website, if you do go there, you can join my community if you want to keep hearing from me. I am going to be starting a podcast. Some of you could be awesome guests. It's going to be the same name as my book, which is called Get Your Heart On, for people who want to make a difference in the world. And I also have I offer free 15-minute sessions for people. They're just called mini sessions. So if you want to talk to me versus email, I'm a phone girl. I still like the phone. Feel free to sign up for a 15-minute session. I'm happy to answer any questions or see if I can help you or your organization in any way. So don't hesitate.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. Take advantage of her being so open to this. It's not super common, and that was an amazing presentation. So shoot her an email, follow her on Instagram, do your thing. And until next time, thanks for tuning into a Nonprofit Hub webinar, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Spencer.